Welcome back to The Explainer. So if you're a focused learner who's ever tried turning a simple idea into an AI video only to end up with this garbled, weirdly morphing, completely frustrating mess, well, you are absolutely not alone. Today, we're completely demystifying AI video creation. We're going to walk step by step through the Higgsfield Cinema Studio Director's Guide. Specifically, we'll break down exactly how beginners can stop guessing, simplify the whole workflow, and actually start creating like a true filmmaker. Okay, let's dive right into this. Here's our roadmap. We'll start with why AI videos fail, introduce you to the director's workflow, and then walk through our 3 simple steps: casting characters, building worlds, and directing action.
Section 1. Why AI videos fail.
All right, we got to address the elephant in the room right off the bat. Why do most AI videos look so bad? Because there's this huge, pervasive myth out there that to get good results, you have to be some sort of elite prompt engineer. People genuinely think you need a computer science background and the ability to write a novel-length prompt just to get a character to walk across a room. But honestly, that is completely false.
The real culprit boils down to this incredibly simple, old-school principle: garbage in, garbage out. Think about it. When you open up an AI tool and just type in this massive, overly complex prompt, trying to define the character, the scene, the lighting, the mood, all at the exact same time, the AI basically just gets overwhelmed. It has a total digital meltdown because it's trying to process and create way too many different elements all at once. And this brilliantly illustrates the core issue we're talking about. The old method, text to video, relies on typing those huge, paragraphs-long prompts, and you just end up with chaos. Missing details, characters that wildly morph from frame to frame. It's a nightmare. But the professional standard is image to video. You start by generating really high-quality reference images first. You lock in your details early, which gives you beautifully consistent, predictable results.
Moving into Section 2, the director's workflow.
It is time for a massive paradigm shift. I want you to literally stop thinking like a prompt engineer trying to code an image and start acting like a real film director managing a production. The image-to-video workflow is all about building a solid cinematic foundation, and you do this by generating perfect, highly customized reference images of your characters, your locations, your props, well before you ever attempt to generate a single frame of motion. You are building your raw materials first.
And here is the super straightforward 3-step blueprint we're going to follow. We're taking what used to be a terrifyingly overwhelming AI process and breaking it down into manageable, logical phases for beginners. First, we cast our characters. Second, we build our worlds. And third, we direct the action. Let's look at exactly how to execute this.
Section 3. Step 1. Casting characters. So instead of staring at a blank prompt box and just hoping for the best, we're going to use Higgsfield's character mode. And I want you to take a look at this number: $100 million. No joke, Higgsfield has this really surprising, almost game-like feature where you can literally set a virtual production budget for your generation. You can slide it from $10 all the way up to $500 million, and that dictates how raw or how polished your character's final look is going to feel. So for a highly cinematic, blockbuster look, setting it to $100 million gets you absolutely incredible polish.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how incredibly granular you can get, without having to write long, convoluted sentences. You're just making directorial choices. In our source tutorial, the creator builds a female racer for a chase scene. They just select the action genre, set the era to the 2020s, and then they pick the rebel archetype to really influence her energy. From there, they just dial in her exact physical build, select blue eyes and long, wavy black hair. They even add specific custom details, like a facial scar on her forehead and a leather jacket, straight into the prompt box. The AI handles making it look photorealistic. You just sit back and make the creative choices.
But before we move to the next step, I definitely have to point out the extreme cost efficiency of this tool because it's a massive win for beginners. Generating a character in Higgsfield Cinema Studio costs just 1/8 of a single credit. Think about that. Compare it to a platform like Nano Banana Pro, which costs 4 full credits per generation and just instantly burns through your budget. Higgsfield basically empowers you to do cheap, rapid testing until your character looks exactly the way you want without any fear of wasting expensive credits.
Section 4. Step 2. Building worlds.
Okay, now that we have our consistent characters cast, those beautifully detailed characters actually need a believable environment to exist within, right? To do this, we switch over to location mode. This completely replaces those flat, kind of unnatural AI backgrounds you're probably used to seeing everywhere. By entering just a very short description, location mode gives you real cinematic depth,
perfect lighting, like super realistic night lighting, and true camera angles. Establishing a strong, standalone location like this gives your final video a vastly better foundation to build upon, rather than trying to force the AI to dream up the background and the characters simultaneously.
But building a world also means creating the specific objects within it, and that is exactly where general mode comes in. You use this to pre-create specific, recurring assets. So for our car chase example, this means generating a premium, aggressive hero car and a clean, believable police cruiser beforehand. By isolating these vehicles and creating them as static image assets first, you guarantee that they won't magically morph into minivans halfway through the shot, which, let's be honest, we all know is incredibly frustrating, or lose their shape once the high-speed action actually begins in the video phase.
Section 5, Step 3. Directing action.
All right, we have our characters, our locations, and our cars. Because we actually followed the director's workflow, 80% of the hard work is literally already done in pre-production. Now we just combine it all. So the absolutely crucial point here is how incredibly simple your final prompt becomes when your reference images are doing all the heavy lifting for consistency. You just upload your 5 references straight into the Assets panel. Then you write a super simple prompt for the action. You can even include dialogue and sound effects. You set your genre to inform the overall pacing. You pick your camera movement, which ranges from slow, dramatic dollies to a wild 360 roll. And finally, you adjust the speed ramp, making it slow for tension or fast for urgency. You hit generate, and the AI beautifully animates your exact custom assets.
Now, I do have to be real with you for a second and acknowledge a technical limitation that frustrates a lot of beginners, the 15-second limit. Current AI video generators simply cannot create continuous, highly detailed scenes longer than 15 seconds in a single generation. It's just where the tech is right now. But don't worry, because the director's workflow has an ingenious built-in solution to bypass this entirely.
Let's move to this timeline and see exactly how this builds using Higgsfield's multi-reference feature. This is how you make longer scenes. At 0 seconds, you generate your first scene using your static image assets, just like we talked about. But then, to make the next clip, you upload scene 1 as a video reference along with your images. The AI literally looks at that moving video and perfectly maintains the lighting, the characters, and the physics to create scene 2. You just keep chaining them. Scene 3 uses scene 2 as a reference, scene 4 uses scene 3, and so on. You're literally building it scene by scene, exactly like a real director moving through a shooting day.
Which brings us to the final step of the entire process. Once you have all your perfectly chained clips, you simply take them into an editor like CapCut, you drag them onto a timeline in order, and boom, you're done. Because you used consistent assets from the start and chained your references, you get natural emotions, alive characters, and a seamless Hollywood-style sequence. And honestly, the craziest part? This entire workflow can be done in under 15 minutes.
Well, we've reached the end of our explainer. Now that you know you don't need to be some elite prompt engineer to get amazing results, what cinematic universe are you going to direct first? The tools to bring your ideas to life consistently and cinematically are finally here, and they are incredibly accessible. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I highly encourage you to open up Higgsfield Cinema Studio and start directing your own scenes right now.